Welcome to Dear Husband, Dear Wife with Danny and Jenny Fuentes, a podcast about dating, marriage, and sex, where we break it down, keep it real, and unashamedly go there. Our goal is to foster a space that welcomes you to have conversations with us regarding these topics. And since we believe in seeking the truth about these topics, we guarantee to keep a biblical perspective in all things related. So go ahead and grab your favorite drink and or put those earbuds because it's about to get real.
Hey guys,
Welcome
back to Dear Husband, Dear Wife. This is Danny.
And Jenny?
And we will be talking about the process of healing.
Yeah, today we're going to be talking about how healing takes time.
Disclaimer, I have a lingering cough. So if you hear me cough, I am sorry. Don't judge me. So, process of healing. This is a pretty, I guess it all depends on, what kind of healing people need in life. There are certain, healings that we need where it's not, oh, whatever, I broke my arm or, messed up my ankle. And, the healing process always will depend on the injury that is sustained. In this case, we are talking about the healing process in regards to relationships. I'll share a story with you guys that I've kind of shared before. But before Jenny and I officially got married, we were engaged, and I had broken the engagement simply because I was not in a good place. Obviously, I was heavily addicted to pornography. And at the same time, I was actually messing around with another young lady while engaged. So clearly, I was not ready to step into that new chapter in the direction that I was heading. But when I had broken the engagement the first time, I knew that there was no way that I could start a life with someone with that kind of baggage. So I needed to, get myself straight. I needed to get my life right before the Lord. And I was just trying to figure out, okay, how do I do that? How do I go about that? And during this time, we were attending a nonprofit organization over in Pasadena, where they provided a specific program for people to join if they were going through anyone that had experienced some very heavy trauma and found themselves still kind of in that zone of, just carrying that baggage around. And so I felt like the Lord was pushing me to join that, that group and to be a part of it and to go through it. I will admit that when I started, I didn't like it at all because it felt like maybe I was going to an AA meeting or something like that. But at the same time, I knew that it was something that I had to do. And so in this program, they called it The River. It was literally basically the sole purpose of it was for everyone that was a part of it to kind of go back to those experiences, to go back to those traumatic experiences that everyone had endured, and to make peace with them, to forgive ourselves, and to basically let the Lord take that over from us. And it was insane. I mean, it was really, really gnarly because I obviously, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that does this, but in life, when you go through, traumatic experiences or anything that hurts us, we automatically build up walls to prevent ourselves from going through that again. Sorry. And so, everything that has ever happened to me, whatever, if I got into a fight in school or, if I was mistreated by someone or anything, I just automatically built up walls. And so, being that in that case, and during that time, I was, I had just broken the engagement between Jenny and I knew that I needed help. And so during the program, part of the program was for us to kind of to talk about the things that hurt us. And for me in particular was obviously the engagement. At the same time, it was pornography, and at the same time, it was my relationship with my mom that wasn't well. Just a lot of things that were going on all at the same time. And so it was during that specific moment in my life where I began the process of healing. But I hated the fact that it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh, I'll be good in like 2 weeks, 3 more weeks and I'm set. It wasn't that. Like, this was my soul. This was my livelihood. Everything that I had been doing up until that moment was affecting me. And I was now in a place where part of my healing process was for me to talk about the things that had affected me and how I felt. And I wasn't accustomed to that. And I hated it. But it made me realize a lot of things about myself and why I did the things that I did. And I feel like that's something that God does with us, not necessarily because he just wants you to like, oh, take a seat in the back and then just hang out. But I mean, he allows certain processes of healing to take longer than they should, not necessarily because he just wants it that way, but because there's something there that he wants us to realize for ourselves. And why we allowed certain things to happen or why we did what we did. And again, it's never in the context of him trying to punish us because of what we did wrong, but for us to be able to understand for ourselves, oh wow, like that's not me. Like I never would have done that if I was in my right mind or whatever. But it was a process that I had to go through that was really, really like working in my life at the same time. I mean, it was pulling out all the weeds, all the gunk, while at the same time softening my heart. I mean, again, I didn't realize how cold-hearted I was until I got in that program. And then, I mean, again, it was like a moment where I kind of saw myself in a different light. And I was like, whoa. I was like, Lord, how are you still... Why are you still around me? Like, look at everything I've done. Look at everything I've ever said. Look at the actions I've taken that I knew in my mind that were wrong, but I did it anyways because I felt like it. And it's like, Lord, you're still here. Why? Why? Which is a question I tend to ask the Lord a lot, and I never get a response. But I mean, it was something that made me see a lot about myself that, to be honest, I wasn't okay with. But at the same time, it was through that moment, through that experience where God really started to work in my life, really started to change a lot of things about myself from the inside out. And at the same time, I started to see how God sees Jenny and what he purposely and intended for this marriage to be. And again, I want you guys to know we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers to being married, and I don't. I still make mistakes. I still have moments where Jenny will kick me under the table because I said something dumb. I believe me, it happens. It still happens. But it made me see a lot about my life differently. Not only that, but it made me start to see things like in a much kinder way. And so for you guys out there, anybody that's out there, What is your healing process like? What is God trying to show you about yourself? What are some things that some of you, or maybe a lot of you, have gone through where you instinctively, go to just turning, building up those walls, and you know that's your defense mechanism. What what are the areas in your lives where God is trying to bring you towards a healing process? Again, not because he just wants to get you to talk about it or get you to, bring it up again, but it's literally what it is. It's God trying to set us free. And so, I mean, that was my journey, that was my healing process, where I saw myself and I was disgusted. I couldn't believe how I became. And so it made me rethink a lot about who I was and what I was trying to do and why I was doing it. And it brought me to a place where it's like, okay, Lord, like, now I'm here. And believe me, guys, like, I'm in a position now in my life where I'm still learning more about myself. But now I'm being guided. It's not me by myself alone in this world. I'm learning about myself through the guidance of the Lord, which I'm totally grateful for that, because, I mean, again, if it was by myself, then anything would attach to me and I just run with it. But I wanted to share that with you because I want you guys to know that the healing process is important. It's something that is a requirement. Not to remind you of who you were, or not to bring up the past, but to let you know that is not who you are. Whatever that may be. I don't know what it is. Again, where I'm not judging. I'm not condemning in any way, shape, or form. All I'm saying is that the healing process sometimes hurts. And it definitely doesn't feel good, and it doesn't look good. But in the end, it helps to build on it, because it's the Lord reshaping us. For those of you who deal with carpentry, anybody else can look at something and say, "Oh man, that's trash," or whatever. This piece of wood is junk now. Let's just toss it out. But those of you who work in carpentry could look at that and say, "What the heck? Like, no, man, I could turn that to a table. I can turn that to like a, $500 door or whatever." You see it in a different light. You see its purpose. You see its potential. And so when we do that, when we look at our past experiences and the things that we've been through and the things that have hurt us, instinctively, we just go ahead and toss that out to the trash. But the Lord comes in and says, "No, I can use that. I can turn that into something beautiful. What you consider to be trash, what you consider to be worthless, I can take that and turn it around into something that you never thought could ever be." And so, yeah, I mean, again, it was a learning experience for me. It taught me a lot about myself. It changed me. It made me want the Lord to work more in my life. And again, till this day, still, because I'm not perfect, I still got a lot that I need to work on. And but today I see it differently now. I'm okay with the healing process. I do the best that I can to allow the healing process to run its course, because I don't want it to be a thing where I speed up the healing process only to not heal the way I should have healed. And it's just like any injury in life. You injure yourself, and you have specific instructions on what to do in order for you to heal back the way you should. But if you don't follow those instructions, you will heal, but you won't heal the way that you were supposed to heal. And so you end up finding yourself running through life with something that should have healed correctly, but you just, you kind of mess with it, or you just didn't follow what you should have followed. And that's just how it is. And so, I speak to everyone that's out there, to, again, embrace the healing process, guys. I know it sucks. It doesn't feel good, but those are the moments where, where God does his work. I said this to someone one day, and it was weird. It was like a small pastoral moment, but I felt like God does his best work when we are quiet. And so let the Lord do what he has to do. And believe me, guys, he's going to wow you. Even in the things where you like feel like, ugh, like, sorry, Lord, I don't know how you could still look at that. But it's like, it's God. Like, he's not surprised. And that's the beautiful thing. God is not surprised by the things that we've done, by the, the actions that we've taken. He's not surprised. But again, he chooses to use our lives, our pasts, to turn them into something beautiful to share with everyone. And so, yeah, it was a journey in my life where I was making constant, bad mistakes and bad calls and bad judgment. And, I not only hurt Jenny, but I hurt my family. I hurt her family. I hurt a lot of people by the decisions that I made. But somehow, again, guys, I couldn't have done it myself. Clearly the Lord turned all of that around, to bring healing into my life, to bring the things that I had voided in my heart. And so it was something that, again, God had to give me the strength to endure it, because I did not want to. But it was definitely worth it in the end. I started to see something that I couldn't see before. So that's my spiel. Sorry if I chewed your ears out.
No. I think it's really good. I think one of the biggest things that we both have learned in our healing process is that, again, healing does take time. And sometimes we do tend to rush the process just because we feel that we want to speed up time, or in order for us to be able to take a certain next step, we have to be healed. One of the biggest mistakes that we've seen in marriages and relationships with young couples who are dating is, when two broken people get together, it's a recipe for disaster. Like, that's literally what it is. And so we encourage constantly individuals to seek help so that they can heal properly, so that they can be healthy individuals and love well, versus love in a way that is very broken. And the other thing that I wanted to also just point out when it comes to healing is that, shaming yourself, because this is what's going to happen. The truth of the matter is, you heard Danny's spiel right now about, just healing in general. And the truth of the matter is, how he said, healing is a long process. And we have still seen, I still see parts of, I guess, not parts, I guess the word, I don't even know how to explain it, but I guess there's moments where Danny will say something or do something that reflects that there's still some healing that needs to be done, right? Or I say something or do something that reflects that there's still healing that needs to happen in my heart. And so when we do that, automatically one of the biggest things that we want to do is shame. Like shame comes to mind. Like we want to shame ourselves and we're like, how did I say that again? Why did I say that? I thought it was done. Like I thought God had healed me. Or, we talk about this. I even talk about this with some of our young students and young adults. It's like we make a mistake and we tell ourselves, why did I make that mistake? Why did I do that? Like, how did I fall back into this old habit when I had come a long way?
Oh, yeah.
And the enemy will constantly use shame in order to stop you from doing the same mistake again. Like, if you think about it.
Or even from healing, to stop you from healing.
Yeah.
Because again, if we don't heal, then it's just it's an injury that's just shows. It's still there. It's like a cut that never heals. Like you're gonna just keep covering it up.
Yeah.
And changing the Band-Aid because it's not healing right.
Yeah, and so like one of the biggest things that I want to encourage is that and remind you is that mercy will always triumph over judgment. So before you go into that judgment mode or go down that rabbit hole of like, I'm guilty, or how can I do this? I'm so stupid. Why did I follow this? Like, I want to remind you that first and foremost, we have an amazing, loving God who is so gracious to forgive us, who's quick to forgive us. And number two, we have a God who promises to walk with us, to never leave us, to never abandon us, to heal our broken wounds, our broken bones, our wounds, and anything like that. Like he is the God of life and death, and he has promised us life. And so I want to constantly remind you that in those moments where you feel like, man, you took a step back, remind yourself that mercy triumphs over judgment. Don't go into that rabbit hole of judging yourself. And you need to be patient. You need to learn how to be patient with yourself. Because the truth of the matter is there's going to be things that are going to come out and things that you're going to do that are still healing that you might be like, why is this coming out? Why is this happening? So I want to encourage you to be patient with yourself. Again, this whole episode is about how healing does take time. Danny broke up with me, broke an engagement, went through this entire, program. And then I want to say, like, what was it, 3-4 years later, you got engaged to me?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, like, it took us like 3 to 4 years to get engaged again.
It took a while.
It took a while. Now I think about it.
It took a while, but I mean, again, it was necessary. Like that was part of the healing process. See, and that was the other thing, guys. Like, I mean, I thought I was going through that just for myself, but at the same time, the Lord was also like allowing Jenny to heal.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, sometimes we think that like, oh, this is just for me, or I'm just going through this experience just for myself. And sometimes that may be the case. But there are also moments, if there are other people involved in your lives, in our lives, then it's also for them too. Like it allows both parties to go through the process. And again, not to cut Jenny off, but
no.
It was necessary, and we learned a lot.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you have to remind yourself is don't confuse guilt and shame with conviction.
Oh yeah.
Because in the healing process, one of the parts and one of the ways that you're healing is when you're convicted. Like people are afraid of conviction. But conviction is a good thing. Like when the Holy Spirit,
you want conviction.
Yes, when the Holy Spirit is like working in your life, he's going to convict you of the things that you have done wrong, or when you take, those steps back and you're like, wait, what happened? Like the goal of conviction is to help you realize, acknowledge that what you said was wrong or did was wrong. Number two, to be able to say, okay, this is not who I am. This is not, who God created me to be. The third thing that conviction does also is like, it's reminding you that God is working in your life. And that's a good thing. Like, you're like, oh, wow, like
Thank you, God, for reminding me that this is not who I am and this is not what I should be doing or saying or acting, whatever. And then conviction leads you to change. Like it does. It automatically does. So I want to make sure that shame is the devil's tool to keep you from healing. Judgment is the devil's tool to keep you from healing. But conviction and truth is God's tools to help you to proceed and to continue to heal.
Yeah.
So be patient. Don't shame yourself. Don't shame others. And, be in community. I think one of the biggest things that helped Danny and I and has helped Danny and I is being in community. Whether it be being in community at a church, being part of a small group that you can trust, going to therapy and, having your person.
We believe in therapy, guys.
We really do. We really, really do. And,
do it.
And a part of the thing that therapy does is that it brings out to light the toxic things that are still hidden in us. Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is you can't heal what is hidden. So don't be afraid to talk about things that you're still struggling with, or things that you feel shame and guilt from. Because what you need to do is you need to let those things out. They need to come to the light. They need to surface out so that you can heal them. Because if not, then you're going to definitely take that with you into your marriage. So this is for people that are dating right now. Like, seriously, get healthy. Like, do what you can do to become a whole human being, restoring your heart, your mind, your soul, your spirit from any trauma, whether it be childhood trauma, whether it be trauma from, work, trauma from churches, whatever that is. Heal so that you can be a complete, healthy individual, that when you end up falling in love and getting married, like, you enter into a very healing and holistic marriage that allows you to be the human being God created you to be for your spouse. And for those of us who are married, it is never late to start the healing process.
Yeah.
Never. So I want to encourage you to take the time to search your heart and to search your mind to see what are the areas that need healing. What are the places in your heart that are still hurting? And any triggers that you get, any harmful patterns that you're seeing, write them down and seriously, if you are blessed and can afford it, go to therapy. If not, I encourage you to be part of a community in a church. Talk to your pastors. And if not, talk to someone that you really, really trust that can walk you through the process. And there's also self-help books that so many Christian writers and so many psychologists write in regarding healing and relationships. And seriously, we encourage you to read those books too. Like, you can go to the library. You don't have to buy them if money is a problem. There is no excuse for us to take the next step for healing. There really isn't.
Yeah.
Talk to someone and say, hey, I need help. Keep me accountable. And we pray that the Lord would continue to heal your guys' lives, just like he's continuing to still heal our lives.
Yeah.
I want to read Denny, he said he had like a little pastoral moment, like, be still. Sometimes, we feel like all we have to do is to be still. And sometimes that's what we need to do. Sometimes we need to shut up and just say, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do? Heal my heart, instead of complaining, right? And so I want to remind us of that psalm. It's actually Psalm 46. And if you read it all, it's very powerful, because it's really about, God just constantly protecting us and being our refuge in time of trouble. And hey, when you're healing, it feels like you might be in trouble. Sometimes it feels like, gosh, there's no way out. So this is what it says. God is our refuge and strength, and ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give away and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose stream make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwell. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice and the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done. The desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. And he breaks the bow and shatters the spear. And he burns the shield with fire. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, and I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. And so I just want to remind you that God is with you. He is your fortress. He is your, ever-present need. He is the one that will respond to your help. And he is with you. You're like that city. We are like that city. He is within us. And he will make us strong. And he will give us life. And he will heal the parts that need to be healing. He will restore what needs to be restored. But all you have to do is to be still and allow him to do the work in you.
Yes.
Well, y'all, this is it.
Yeah. Thank you guys again for taking time to check out the podcast. I hope that you guys are encouraged. I hope that you guys feel like you can pull through. Once again, we don't judge or condemn anyone. We're not here to shame anybody in any way. We're here just to, again, be a voice of light to some extent, and to remind you that there is a God and that he can do it and no one else can, and only he can do it.
Yeah. Well, blessings to y'all, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. We really enjoyed hanging out with you. If you really enjoyed hanging out with us too, then we ask you for one simple favor. Go ahead and leave us a review and let us know how we did. We thank you so much, and we really appreciate your time. We look forward to seeing you next week. Adios.